in number of financial institutions. For example, the commercial bank, there are more than 30 commercial banks, 6 specialized banks, and 25 licensed microfinance institutions, with their branch and offices in all provinces and towns in the Kingdom of Cambodia. There will no doubt lead to a concentration of the sector, but right now the focus is on development. Other things are not so obvious. Individual trust in banks has increased despite the crisis. The growth of deposit is a proof of it, moderate in 2009, but very vigorous again in 2010. It is accomplished by a rebound in credit transaction and the profit figures of all the major banks.
However, down the line, the central bank will have to finely tune and steady its control over the credit supply, maintain attractive rates, and not allow the banks to be overly dependent on outside flows, as is the case today.
To achieve this, the NBC will have to expand its toolkits of quantitative intervention instruments on bank liquidity and foreign exchange with the support of a genuine money markets. And putting the corresponding mechanism in place should also increase use of the national currency in both daily life and banking transactions. And by doing so, the central bank would make it easier for microcredit institutions to get financings, and more importantly, the central bank would be in a better position to fulfill its role as a lender of last resort.
We also want to launch, as soon as it seems feasible, an interbank lending market by issuing a fixed interest securities offered to commercial banks and tradable among them under the central bank oversight. We should have a less shallow and automized money market. As a result, we should be able to improve greatly the effectiveness of our monetary and economic instruments. Such a move is in line, of course, with increasing the role and place of the real in the economy, as well as increasing the role of the National Bank of Cambodia as lenders of last resort.
The roadmap is there, in part, but restoring the real to its rightful position will take much time and effort. As for affordable long-term capital, which is direly needed in a country on the move, a stock exchange was debated and postponed a number of times. But it will become a reality by the end of 2011. Even if payments in dollars are temporarily accepted, its quotation in the national currency will give more depth to the real market. It is an important decision of both symbolic and pragmatic significance.
The lengthy preparation works undertaken by the Security and Exchange Commission of Cambodia, with the contributions from many partners, including the Korean Exchange, will have at least allowed the necessary rules and regulations to be put in place and qualified operators to be properly identified. In view of Cambodia's needs and what foreign investor expects, the time seems to be ripe now. A IPO's rush might undermine investors' confidence. That's why listing will be opened only to well-prepared companies in order to reduce exchange and financial risk.
The budget policy must also be beefed up and enjoy greater autonomy. Although most public investment is still aid-funded, primarily by the West, but increasingly by China, Cambodia will have to assume greater responsibility for it.
Until now, the government has focused on stability, successfully avoiding budgetary shortfall and foreign exchange manipulation. But it will be under much greater demands as it further addresses infrastructure, agricultural development, and social environment issues. Public expenditure have increased sharply over the last 12 years, from 14 to over 20% of GDP. But the principle of significant primary surplus has been maintained. The government has already multiplied its revenue by over fourfold and is collecting them from an ever broader base. Our tax team are sharper. They have extended the VAT and the vehicle tax range. and introduce a land tax. We will certainly top a tax pressure rate of 13% of GDP. That leaves measures of leeways and keep our system comparatively very attractive. The policies of economic and political stability, opening, peaceful coexistence, recognized borders, and economic integration have been the mainstay of growth. They naturally remain a priority.
Expansion of the private sector, jobs and income will provide the poorest with access to a higher level of education, healthcare, security and comfort, as well as the means to better assert their rights.
Of course, the economy has had a decided impact on social issues, but more is needed now. External and internal resources must now be better utilized and mobilized towards structuring investments and toward a diversification of the sources of growth. Factors of destabilization, a side effect of the very rapid growth of Cambodia, now have to be addressed. Deforestation, land insecurity, economic and social impact of large economic concessions, rise in inequalities, and remaining challenges in health and education.
Some doubt that the country has the financial resources required. There are high expectations for copper, bauxite, gold, even tungsten, and of course oil and gas that are being explored actively. Anticipated receipts are thought to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, with the payoff, if any, still years away. It is therefore safer to bank on something else: human resources.
With more than 500 engineers and technicians in Cambodia, Coming proves that the country can be self-sufficient and successful in high-tech areas, being able to export to neighboring countries. It covers many sectors, such as power plant and associated transmission line, clean room for the pharmaceutical and the electronic industries, airport facilities, water treatment plant, and so on.
No problem. The water supply in Phnom Penh is rated as one of the cleanest in the world. This work won us several international awards. Everyone, yes, everyone is billed for it. Also, allowance is made for the poorest. Our determination qualified us for a series of soft loans. But paying them back means that we have to get a better grip on our financial policy.
Backed by the international community and spearheaded by the WTO accession, for the past 12 years, Cambodia has been turning out laws and regulation to streamline the business environment, sometimes far too fast for complying to keep pace with law. However, on the basis of 40 to 50 new laws and regulation adopted in the last 5 years, good governance is on track and Cambodia international ranking is improving.
The Cambodian people have displayed through time an impressive resilience, the capacity to rebound and to improvise.
The Khmer people have stood out since the 8th century, even during periods of decline. The substance thereof is commitment, vision, but also realism, openness, and borrowing from abroad, welcoming entrepreneurial foreign minorities.
Nowadays, we have granted ownership rights to foreigners much more fully here than anywhere else in Asia. We are seeing also the rise of a generation of people full of entrepreneurial spirit, unabashed by innovation and risk-taking. Over the past 12 years or so, we took many challenges and won a number of times. we have to keep going. The government, the private sector, Cambodian, foreigners, partners, more than ever before.
Realism means being able to plan by taking a look around, getting input from others, adapt one policy to the circumstances, and overcome old fears, such as ones regarding foreign property. These cultural traits, these identifying marks are once again to the fore.
Though not Cambodia's only asset, these factors are certainly paramount for the country to move along its own road to development.